Good morning to all the students of class 12th political science. And students, I hope you all are fit and healthy at your homes and taking proper precautions against COVID. And let's start the lecture for the day. And as you know, we had already done some of the additional topics to this chapter number 2. As from your NCERT book, we have completed this particular chapter, but now we are taking the additional topics. Okay, and three topics we had already covered, which were the part of chapter number 3. Now they are merged with chapter number 2. But now the topic which we are going to today, that is Middle East crisis, that is Afghanistan. This is the new topic. Okay, and this is not in your book. We have to study it, and CBSE has also not sent any notes for this particular topic. But we'll try to understand this topic in detail because this is very important when we talk about bipolarity, unipolar world, and after unipolar world we have to talk about Afghanistan, because when we talk about 9/11 attack, okay, so in which the Arab countries were involved, then we talked about some of the operations led by America. We talked about operation enduring freedom. So all those are related with Afghanistan. So that is the reason they have given this topic to us, and we'll try and cover this. And I have written down notes for you, so you can note down these notes also, or I will send you the PDF also. Okay, so let's begin this Middle East crisis, Afghanistan. But before I start this topic, let me show you the location of Afghanistan, and why this topic is so important, and why this location of Afghanistan is so important, and that is we are studying it here. This is the world map, and easily you can find the location of Afghanistan here. This is India, this is Pakistan, and this shaded part, this is Afghanistan. And this is a landlocked countries, you can see here. It means it do not have any access to the sea or ocean. You can see into its all the boundaries there is a land area. Okay, this side Iran, here Pakistan, here Tajikistan, Turkmenistan. So its all borders are shared by the other countries. It does not has any access to ocean. That is why it is called landlocked countries. It means this particular territory is locked by land from all the sides. Although Afghanistan also shares a little small border with India at this point, but this part of India is called the POK, Pakistan Occupied Kashmir. So we do not have direct access to the Afghanistan border because this is POK. But okay, so this is the location of Afghanistan, because we are studying the topic, that is we are talking about Middle East. This region is called the Middle East or the West Asia, as I've shown you in the class also. But today we are talking about this particular country, Afghanistan, when we talk about the what were the crisis in the Middle East region, because there has been so many topics which we have covered. Three topics before this topic, where America was attacked, 9/11 attack we have talked about. So in that we had talked about some terrorist groups also, Al Qaeda, Taliban. So they all belonged and originated and were established in the same country, that is Afghanistan. We have also talked about Iraq in the previous section. So all these countries of Middle East were a part of this particular topic, but particularly now we will be only studying Afghanistan here. Here this is a map of Afghanistan, and this I am showing you to just let you know some of the important physical features of Afghanistan, because this is a very difficult terrain. If you see Afghanistan, this central region, this is all covered by the mountain range, small hills and peaks, and very rough terrain. It is a rugged form of a land form. And we find here Hindu Kush mountain ranges here. It covers the all central part of Afghanistan, and to the south here we find the desert region. So if you see, the terrain is very difficult, so many invaders have always tried and control this particular area, but there has been no single invader who could stay here for a long time because of the difficult terrain here. Infrastructure is also weak, very weak. Development is very low because of this difficult terrain, where we have mountain ranges of Hindu Kush covering the entire central region of Afghanistan, and to the south we have the desert region. So this is also one of the regions, and it is sharing the boundary with Pakistan. So we shall be discussing this. So I am showing you the map, so that when I am reading out the points, you can keep in mind this location of the map here of Afghanistan. Okay, so let's start with the notes now. So let's start with the location of Afghanistan. See, its the name official name I would say Islamic Republic of Afghanistan. Its official name is Islamic Republic of Afghanistan. It is a landlocked country. I have shown you in the map. What do you understand by landlocked countries? Located at the confluence of West, Central, and South Asia. If you see the location and map of Afghanistan, you will find that it is at the crossroads when we move from Europe to Central Asia or from West Asia to South Asia. So if you have to move to all these places, you will have to cross Afghanistan. So we can say it is at the crossroads of West, Central, and South Asia. So that is why this location becomes so important. So now let's understand something about the tribes and the land. Before that, only 12% land is arable. Here I told you why only 12% area is arable, which where people can live or their agriculture can be done. Okay, because as I told you, the terrain of Afghanistan is difficult. The entire central part is covered with the mountain ranges, which is called Hindu Kush mountains, and the southern part of Afghanistan is having a desert. So only 12% land of Afghanistan is arable. That is why many invaders have invaded Afghanistan, because it is onto the crossroads when we come to Central Asia, South Asia, or West Asia, when we travel to these places. But it was very difficult for any ruler or any invader to establish their rule in Afghanistan for a long time because of its difficult terrain. Only 12% area is arable. So now let's see who are the people who live here, who are the tribes, and what is the percentage of these tribes. And you have to remember, so Pashtun, this is the most important tribe here. It is 42% of the people there are Pashtun tribe. Tajik are 27%, and Uzbeks are 19%, and Hazara are 19%. So Pashtun having the majority 42%, then at minority we can see these are the 19%, but Tajik is also 27%. So these four are the major tribes of Afghanistan. Okay, now let's see who was the founder of Afghanistan, who had founded this place. So Ahmad Shah Abdali. Okay, he was also he was involved in the third battle of Panipat. So Ahmad Shah Abdali, 18th century, he was the founder. And if we see, so we are just taking some of the important details relating to location and who was the founder. And the border between British India and Afghanistan, if you see the border between British India and Afghanistan, it is called Durand Line, and it was carved out in 1893. You have to remember the border between British India and British India means it includes Pakistan. At that time, Pakistan was the territory of India. So this British India includes Pakistan. So it means we are trying to say border between Pakistan and Afghanistan. That line is called Durand Line, and that was carved out in 1893. Modern Afghanistan has seen three major wars. Now our focus should be here. That is, I had just given you some information relating to the location of Afghanistan, the terrain of Afghanistan, and I have told you about the founders of Afghanistan and the line which divides Pakistan and Afghanistan recently in the current scenario. But our focus should not be to the ancient or the medieval period, because we are studying this contemporary world politics. So in this entire book we are trying to focus on the topics and the world politics which include the time period after 1945. Here I have written here 1945. So we'll also try and keep our content restricted up to 1945. So we will be studying about Afghanistan after 1945. So after 1945, if you will see the history, political history of Afghanistan, you will find that modern Afghanistan has seen three major wars. So here in this topic we are trying to cover about modern Afghanistan. This is the content of our book. Before this I have just given you the important information regarding Afghanistan, but basically we are going to cover modern Afghanistan as a part of our content. And from this part only a question will be asked in the in the exams from the board point of view. Okay, so if we talk about the three modern or the three major wars which have been fought in Afghanistan, those are Soviet invasion. I'm sure you know this, because when we were studying about the end of bipolarity, and we saw the various factors and reasons responsible for the disintegration of USSR. In that, one was the major factor was that USSR was into war with Afghanistan for the long 10 year, in which they drained their lot of economy, and which led to the weak infrastructure or the weak production or the weak consumer goods, or the shortage of food grains in their own country, because they were into war for long 10 years, and they had wasted lot of economy and money on that war for maintaining their arms ammunition, maintaining the army in the other countries. And so Soviet invasion, will try and understand this. This was one of the reason, but in detail we'll see what all happened in Afghanistan during Soviet invasion, why Soviet had to invade Afghanistan, what were the reasons that Soviet had to go and attack on Afghanistan. So we'll see that. Then after that, this was from 79 to 89. After 89, what happened? Soviet USS army went back to their country, but after that the situation of civil war emerged in Afghanistan from 1989 to 96. For after 1989 till 96, there was a situation of civil war. Okay, it means there were internal factions within Afghanistan, and they were fighting to gain the power amongst themselves. Once USSR had left this Afghanistan. And the last, we'll not repeat it, we have already read about this Afghanistan war, that is 2001, when US was attacked by the as I told you, by the Arab terrorist. Okay, we have discussed that. And in response to 9/11 attack, they had launched the operation Enduring Freedom, and we have read about this Operation Enduring Freedom. Okay, so we are going to cover these two parts in this topic of Middle East crisis, Afghanistan. So in all the topics, we will see how Afghanistan was involved in the world politics, maybe in a negative sense. Okay, so as I have told you, we are going to study three major wars. So the first one we are starting as Soviet invasion. We'll see the reasons here why USSR invaded Afghanistan. What were the reasons? So this invasion lasted for these 10 years, 1979 to 1989. These long 10 years. So let's see some of the background. Before 1979, what were the circumstances and conditions prevailing in Afghanistan which led Soviet Union to invade Afghanistan? What were the reasons? That is why I have written background. That is, we are not starting directly with that Soviet Union invaded. Why they invaded? So before that, we need to know some of the background to it. So let's understand the background or the circumstances which were prevailing in Afghanistan before 1979. So in April 1978, 1 year before this, the government of Daud Khan was overthrown in a coup. So previously, there in 1978, there was a government of Daud Khan, and his government was overthrown in a coup. Coup means a sudden change in the political, social or economic condition of a place. So here political system was suddenly changed, and he was removed. Daud Khan was removed, and let's see who was made as the government or who was the ruling party after Daud Khan, and what was their ideology. So after Daud Khan was removed, after him the power came in the hands of leftist party. So you must be thinking, who was this leftist party and why this party was so powerful that it easily removed Daud Khan from the power, and they established their own government. So the power came in the hands of the leftist party, and this leftist party is the ideology which follows the ideology of USSR, communalism, communalism and socialism. So this leftist party was inspired by the ideas of USSR. So the party's name was People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan. In short, we will be using PDPA, People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan, and this party was backed up financially, morally, diplomatically. This party was supported by USSR. Because it was supported by USSR, it was following the ideology of communalism. Okay, and the ideology of communalism and socialism. That is why they easily removed Daud Khan and they came into power. So let's see, when they came into power, they were working as a government in Afghanistan. What were the changes they brought for the society and for the citizens, and why? Because of those reforms, people were resenting and they were not happy. They wanted to remove this government. Okay, so let's see. So the new government, that is PDPA government, with Soviet backing, introduced land and social reforms with the help of and support of Soviet Union or USSR. They introduced new new land reforms and social reforms. So they wanted to make some changes to the land areas and some social reforms, which were resented by largely Muslim and anti-communist people. But these reforms, these changes which the government was trying to inculcate or bring into the society of Afghanistan, where, as I have told you, major tribes were Pashtun and 42%, Tajiks were 27%. In that, the major population which was were the strict followers of Islam. The strict followers of Islam were against this government. Also, some people in Afghanistan, whether they were anti-communist, it means they were against this ideology of communism and socialism. So there were two groups of people. One were who the strict followers of Islam or Muslims who were against this government. Also, the people who were anti-communist. It means these two groups were having the same views towards the government. They were not happy with the government, the reforms they were making. Okay, it means they wanted this government, PDPA government wanted to bring in modernization and westernization, okay, to this part of Afghanistan. But this was rescinded, and people did not wanted these reforms to to be brought up to their society. Okay, so a part of the society which was largely Muslim and anti-communist people, they were against the these reforms of the government. So moving forward, when people were resenting and they were not happy with the actions and step taken by the government, so what happened after that? What followed was a call of jihad. There was a call of jihad. So let me tell you the meaning of jihad. Jihad means a struggle or fight against the enemies of Islam. So whoever will be against the practices of Islam, or they will be the enemies of Islam, so people will protest against them, and that struggle is called jihad. It means here non-Muslims and anti-communist population which was against these reforms of the PDPA government, they started and they gave a call of jihad. It means struggle or fight against the enemies of Islam, and the enemies of Islam here were this government, People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan, because it was trying to bring modernization and westernization and bring communalism to this part of Afghanistan. So these people started jihad, and these people who called jihad, who were against the PDPA government, they were called as Mujahideens. So there can be a question, who are Mujahideens? So these were people who had called for jihad, that is the struggle, fight, or the fight against enemies of Islam. So they were people against the government, and these people included both the rural areas and urban areas. So people, they formed a group, and that group consisted of the people from both rural and urban areas, and those people were mostly non-Muslims, and some people were anti-communist population. So all these participated in large number backed by US. So these people were protesting against the government, and these people, Mujahideens, I will be using the word Mujahideens, who were opposing the government, or who were opposing the new reforms, land and social reforms to the society. So they were called Mujahideens, and these Mujahideens were automatically supported by US. We know this time period, when we are talking about 1970s and 1980s, this was the time period of Cold War. Okay, so during the Cold War, there were two sections, one was US and one was USSR. So here USSR was trying to implement their own ideology of communalism and socialism into Afghanistan, where people were resenting against it. At this time, the people who were against USSR, so at this moment US supported Mujahideens, because Mujahideens were against USSR and the government. So US gave a moral, diplomatic and financial support to the Mujahideens. Okay, so we can see here PDPA party was of Soviet backed, Soviet support. So here Mujahideens were supported by US. Okay, so let's now see, as here the situation was going out of control, and Mujahideens were becoming powerful, and here government could not control the things. So here Soviet Union felt the need where they needed to now interfere. So that is why in 1970, now here Soviet Union made their invasion. They entered into the boundaries or the border or the territories of Afghanistan. That is why I have written here invasion, because of all these situations which we have seen up here. All these circumstances forced USSR to directly get involved into Afghanistan. Okay, As we know, Mujahideens were being supported by US, Pakistan, China, Saudi Arabia. Some of the countries were supporting Mujahideens. Okay, and this government, People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan, was backed and supported by USSR. But since the things were not under the control of this government now, so here US made their invasion and they came into the action now. So envision these uprisings, the whatever the uprising and disturbances were going on, rebellions were going on, so these uprisings along with infightings and coup within the government prompted the Soviet to invade. Now all this situation led the Soviet to invade the country on the night of, you have to remember, the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, entered the boundaries of Afghanistan on 24th December 1979. So first time the USSR army entered into Afghanistan to control these Mujahideens who were becoming powerful with the support of US and China, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, with nearly 1 lakh troops. So if we see what were the number of troops that Soviet Union had come into Afghanistan, total were 1 lakh troops. Soviet controlled also, it was very easy for Soviet Union or the USSR military to control all the major cities, towns. Okay, so easily all the important cities and towns of Afghanistan were captured and controlled by the Soviet army. But while the Mujahideens did not stop, they moved and spread throughout the countryside. It means they moved higher. As I told you, the location and the physical features of Afghanistan, the entire central region is covered by the mountain range, and the southern part is covered by the desert. So all the Mujahideens moved into the to the hilly regions, to the mountains of Hindu Kush mountains, and they hid themselves there. But they kept on fighting the war against Soviet army. But that war tactics was called guerrilla tactics. It means directly they were not fighting with them, but they were continuously fighting, and this is called guerrilla tactics, where they were hiding and attacking Soviet Union army. And huge support, and this Mujahideens were getting a huge support from US, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan and China while they were fighting guerrilla tactics or the guerrilla war with Soviet army, because Soviet army was not very well trained with the guerrilla wars, but Mujahideens were very well known and familiar with the geographical conditions of the Afghanistan, so it became easier for them. And this is the reason that for the long 10 years this war was kept going on. No one was defeated, okay, no one was the winner. Continuously there was the loss of army personals, but still that war continued for the 10 years. During this time, this is the period of 1980s, for entire after 1980 till 90, this time period there was a group and various warlords or groups, we can say, like Taliban and Al Qaeda. As we know, these are the terrorist group. They emerged here in 1980s. So this was the situation when there was a guerrilla war going on for the long 10 years between USSR and US, and US was supporting these Mujahideens. At this time there emerged and the Taliban and the Al Qaeda, as we know, as the terrorist groups during the period of 1980s, with the US providing weapons and support from Pakistan. So and the US was providing weapons to these Mujahideens, and support from Pakistan was also giving them support through ISI, and war was drawn to a bloody stalemate. And this war was called bloody stalemate because there was no end to this war. For continuously it was going on and it was going on. There was no end to it. It is called, that is why it is called bloody stalemate. Okay. So here we can see one thing. Here US was supporting Mujahideens, and in the same place of Afghanistan there emerged Taliban and Al Qaeda, and ultimately at the last Al Qaeda and Taliban had attacked America. Okay, so we can see here. Now the thing, after 10 years, now when did the Soviet Union withdraw its army and the military from Afghanistan? So let's see. As we have seen in the chapter End of Bipolarity, Mikhail Gorbachev, you know, who wanted to bring reforms to the USSR society. So Mikhail Gorbachev, when he became the president in 1985, if you remember, as a part of his reforms, okay, he wanted to make reforms. Under those reforms, he announced a gradual withdrawal of the Soviet troops. He said that I am going to call my Soviet troops from Afghanistan, because from the long 10 years they have been fighting in Afghanistan, which has led to a very weak economy of USSR, and this can be one of the reasons for the disintegration of USSR. So he decided to withdraw and call the Soviet troops back. Okay, after he was appointed as a president or general secretary in 1985. So finally in 1986 the Soviet backed government led by Muhammad Najibullah came to power. So in 1986 there was a formation of a new government in Afghanistan which was led forward by Muhammad Najibullah came to power. But by 1989 all Soviet troops left the country as he was appointed as the government there who was supported by USSR. But as we know, Gorbachev had announced to withdraw its troops from Afghanistan. So by 1989, it started from 1979, and by 1989, by Mikhail Gorbachev, it was made sure that all the USSR or the Soviet troops came back to their country. So by 1989, all the Soviet troops left the Afghanistan, that is the country means Afghanistan, and they came back to their country. So once they came back, what happened? Let's see. Once Soviet Union came back to a country, there started a situation of civil war. It means there was these mujahideens who used to be a single group. Now these mujahideens were divided into various factions. Now they were having various internal factions, different groups, and all the different groups wanted to gain power and control Afghanistan government. Okay, and to get and gain those power, there started a situation which is called civil war within Afghanistan, which lasted from the period of 1989 when Soviet Union's troops went back till 1996. So what happened here? USSR disintegrated in 1991, and the next year Soviet-backed Najibullah, as I told you, Najibullah was made his government. As soon as USSR disintegrated, it means there was no support now for Najibullah. His government was replaced by the power. Okay, and who replaced the government of Najibullah? Now Mujahideens control the government. But as I told you, now Mujahideens were having a various factions. So Mujahideens took over the government, and Burhanuddin Rabbani became president. So in the beginning, Mujahideens took over the government. They removed Najibullah as Soviet Union had disintegrated and he was having no support now. So in place of him, Mujahideens had taken over as the government of Afghanistan, and Burhanuddin Rabbani, he became the president. Now let's see what happened. But there started a situation of fighting amongst the warlords. Okay, so amongst the Mujahideens there were various groups which we call factions, and all those factions wanted to capture and gain the power on control of Afghanistan. So they started fighting amongst themselves now. That is why we call this situation of 1989 to 96 as a civil war in Afghanistan, because these factions started fighting amongst themselves to gain the power of Afghanistan. But finally what happened? Taliban, which was one of the faction, this was the most powerful faction of Mujahideen. These were also a part of Mujahideens, but they were the most powerful. Taliban finally emerged as the largest and the most powerful with their base in Kandahar. So they were the most powerful. They emerged as the most powerful, and they had their base at Kandahar. By September 1996, they seized capital Kabul, and by 1996 they had seized the capital of Afghanistan, that is Kabul. They had full control over Kabul also now. And after that, Taliban declared Afghanistan. Now Taliban was having a total political, social, economic control, or the government control of Afghanistan. So Taliban declared Afghanistan as an Islamic state with Mullah Muhammad Omar as its head. Now Taliban had declared that Mullah Muhammad Omar will be its head. It means it was one of the factions of Mujahideens. Okay. So we can see here Taliban rule after 1996. I told you in 1996 there was a situation of, till 1996 there was a situation of civil war, but now this all region was controlled by Taliban. So we'll see after 1996 how Taliban has ruled Afghanistan till 2001. Okay, so now from 1996 to 2001. The word Taliban, the meaning Taliban here comes from a Talib meaning student. The meaning of Talib means student in Arabic. In Arabic, the meaning of Talib means a student. So Taliban imposed strict Sharia code. Now Taliban has imposed, since it was now ruling Afghanistan, they had imposed a rule which means Sharia code. It means strict rules and regulations followed by all the Muslims, and it became very compulsory for all of them to follow this rules and regulations followed by all the Islamic countries. So here this was imposed, Sharia code. there were gross human rights violations. There were a lot of violations and absence of rights. There were no human rights, no natural rights, or we would say for any freedom. There was no freedom for women. Women were living a very difficult life under this Taliban rule. They were supported and backed military by Pakistan, and this region Taliban was being supported by military by Pakistan. So Pakistan gave the support to Taliban. That is why all these terrorist groups are interlinked with Pakistan, and Al Qaeda and Taliban Pakistan. They freely move from one place to another. Okay, but here we will see that because of the Sharia code, the freedom of women and otherwise also the human rights, they were violated as a large extent here. One more thing here, last point. Taliban gave shelter to Al Qaeda. Gave shelter to Al Qaeda, a terrorist group. Its leaders were Osama bin Laden, about whom we have started when we were studying about 9/11 attack on America. We said that Al Qaeda was a terrorist group and Osama bin was the leader of that plan. And Ayuman al Zulhari, they infamous acts included. So whatever the infamous acts, what all the incidents they were a part of, like they used to, they had already bombed the U.S. embassies in Kenya and Tanzania. Okay, it's written here in 1998 they had attacked on Africa, where the embassy of US was there. Tanzania also, and in 9/11 attack we have already studied. So they were involved in all these terrorist attack, and all these were emerging here in Taliban, and Pakistan was supporting them. So all is this is the all about the topic Afghanistan, and it is an important topic. You must write these notes and try to understand it, and we will take this in the Zoom meeting also. Till then, thank you.